Alright peeps, what's going on? How's it going? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. Hope you're doing well, friends. Really do hope that, mate. Welcome back to Chelsea News Daily series here. That's right, every single day, daily, where I sit with you, friend, and we look at the Chelsea news, reflect on it together, or talk about the situation with Chelsea. So welcome on in. Welcome on in. Yeah, that's a line. Get comfortable. Consider subscribing if you're new. I'd urge you to drop a like because it helps me. And why wouldn't you want to be an absolute legend and help me out? That's very kind of you. Today we're discussing things like Reece James' return. Absolutely huge for the Club World Cup. Likely only to miss the Plymouth game. I'm going to talk about that. Could he play a left back as well? Do we want him to? Probably not. I also want to look at the fixtures, the run-in. I want to talk about Frank Lampard poaching Chelsea's coaches, maybe? Possibly taking some of our players on loan, should he get the Everton job, which he's currently having the second interview for now. So, lots of incredible stuff to get into. And let's start off, well, you know what, let's start off, we'll do the fixtures and Frank Lampard in a sec. Let's start off with Reece James. So, Reece James is back, fit and firing, he's good to go, and he will be available, if we are to believe reports, for the Club World Cup. Now, there is a Chelsea game before that next weekend, it's the FA Cup, of course we're playing Plymouth. You would say we don't need to play Reece James in a game like that. Although some people might say, well, it's a good opportunity to bed him back in against perhaps not too difficult opposition. At the same time, you could argue the Club World Cup wouldn't be the highest level, though we'll probably be coming up against some really sort of high-octane, aggressive South American teams, so you could look at it both ways, really. Fact of the matter is, Reece James has returned. He's back. The next game that we really need him for, he will be available for, like I said, if we are to believe reports, and that is massive for Chelsea. What I think we'll probably be doing is, I mean, Thomas Tuchel might be tempted to revert back to his favoured 3-4-2-1 that served him so well and won him the Champions League. And let's be honest, what's made Reece James look world class at times as a sort of inverted wingback, where he sort of, you know, inverts into the midfield. Ben Chilwell would invert into the striker position and would cook. So he'd probably be tempted to do that. Play Marcus Alonso as a left wing back. We all know Marcus Alonso can play as a left wing back, though he's not as good as Ben Chilwell, and though he hasn't got that sort of cross-field chemistry with Reece James like Ben Chilwell has, Marcus Alonso. So you have that sort of gut feeling that Thomas Tuchel would be inclined to go back to a 3-4-3. But Reece James is a very good versatile player. Of course, plays as a right centre-back as well as a right-back, and of course a right-back for his country, for England, and has dropped some masterclasses in the conventional right-back system. So, makes you think, doesn't it? Maybe we should just, you know, keep a 4-back system and have Malang Sarr as left-back, and of course when we do play that system, sometimes it becomes asymmetrical, lopsided. One side can get down a little bit more, and in this instance it could be Reece James. Personally, I like that idea, and personally, if we keep a 4-1-4-1 system, keeping Hakim Ziyech on that right mid, right wing position, which of course he's been absolutely magnificent in, maybe he'll develop great chemistry with James again down that right hand side behind him, overlapping, swapping places, inverting, going out on the wing, all kinds of crazy gear. Regardless, this is massively good news to see the return of Reece James for the Club World Cup. And also, not just for the Club World Cup, but for Chelsea's run-in in the Premier League. So I want to take a look at it here. And this is really positive for me because, you know, let's have it right. Chelsea aren't going to win the Premier League, but there are some concerns that Chelsea's, you know, record in the Premier League with 1,000 draws, lots of nervy moments like, are we going to get, you know, dragged into a top 4 fight? People are scared about that, and it's very realistic when you think of the contenders of, you know, West Ham, Arsenal, Tottenham, Manchester United. To agree, Wolverhampton Wanderers, man, look at the table, and they're a great team. Don't score goals, but, you know, they're slowly chipping away. So there's a danger of that, but Chelsea have got a great run in, and let's take a look now, ladies and gentlemen. So what have we got? Of course, next weekend coming, we've got Chelsea versus Plymouth Argyle, the aforementioned FA Cup match, and then we're off to the Club World Cup. But then we return for the Premier League. We've got Crystal Palace away, not easy to go to Selhurst, well, in terms of great atmosphere, great fans, but you'd have to think Chelsea would have their number. Of course, they would not be able to play Conor Gallagher either because of the loan rule, so that's great. You'd have to think Chelsea would do that. Then we've got a very pleasant Champions League fixture against French champions, of course, Lille, but you'd have to think after they sold all their players like Soumare, and they're not going to win, they're not going to get a sniff this season in the league for winning it. That's an amazing fixture. So I know we're talking about the Premier League here, but let's just have a moment of appreciation for Plymouth and Lille. Don't clip this up if we end up losing to both of them, but come on, that is absolutely superb. Let's go back. Alright, so, and then back to the Premier League. Of course, we've got the cup final as well, which is Liverpool, which is his own kettle of fish. An opportunity for a trophy in one game. Against a team in Liverpool we've played twice this season, drawn both of them, but probably should have done better in both of them. At the game at Anfield, Reece James got sent off, and we hung on for a 1-1. But we were a man down, so we did well, and we were the better team, 11 versus 11. And of course, the game at Stamford Bridge, we went 2-0 down, came back to draw 2-2, but the momentum was, ever since the latter part of the first half, the momentum was with us. Probably should have won that game. Anyway, so we're talking about the Premier League. Crystal Palace, good. Burnley away, good. It has to be. I know Turf Moor's a horrible, windy place to go playing. 5th of March, should be as cold by then, and windy. And, it's Burnley, man. Come on, look at where they are on the table. Similarly, Newcastle, I know they're making moves. They're moving mad at the moment in the January transfer window, popping Trippier, a few million on him, 25 million on Wood, lol, 40 million euros on Bruno, the defender. They're moving mad. They're doing everything to not get relegated. So of course it would be hilarious if they do get relegated. Good fixture though, of course, Lille again, and they've got Norwich away. Again, not that they're using Billy Gilmore, but he's injured at Cobham, I think. But again, you got to beat Norwich, mate. We're champions of Europe. Similarly, Brentford, difficult game, but we're at home. Brentford have sort of dropped off a little bit. They're not the same Brentford at the beginning of the season. Southampton, again, won't be able to play Armando Broja, their top goal scorer, because of the loan rule. Very winnable. Leeds, you've got to say very winnable. They've been poor this season. They might even drop into could drop into a relegation fight. Patrick Bamford's been absent. It's only really Rafinha. They're not good enough. Chelsea versus West Ham is obviously a big one. But we are at home. I think we'll beat them. They've not been as good as they have been. Everton, that's a big interesting one, which will go on to the next part of the video, because Frank Lampard could be in the dugout, which is, will be mad really. Chelsea versus Wolves, that'll be very difficult, although we have beat them recently, although Chelsea versus Wolves at the end of last season wasn't so good. So, and of course, Man United at Old Trafford is probably the standout one out of a whole run-in. So, literally, we've played Liverpool twice, we played City twice, we've played Tottenham twice, we've played Arsenal twice. It's literally, we've got them all out of the way. It's just Man United once, and then we finish with Watford. If we can't finish third with that run-in, then I don't think we're massively doing ourselves a disservice. There's still a chance we could finish second if Liverpool have a couple of wobbles. Why not? Be ambitious. Before we talk about Frank, Chelsea could finish this season with the Super Cup, which we've already won, which is an achievement. Third place. We could win the League Cup. We're one win away from that, and already it's 2 trophies in the top 3 finish. That's not a bad season, by any standard, but you've still got the opportunity to win the FA Cup. You'd have to say we'll go through the next round against Plymouth. Very winnable competition for a club like Chelsea. We're champions of Europe's? There's just only one Europe. We're champions of Europe. We could win the Champions League. We can do it! We could do it, man. So Chelsea are in a very strong position. Let's remain positive. And let's talk about Super Frankie Lampard. Cool, so Frank Lampard's having his second interview, maybe yesterday or today, with Everton. He could become the new Everton boss. The Everton fans didn't like, I forget his name, the geezer that were interviewing, that they didn't think was good enough, and he was going around all sorts of media things. Anyway, we're not talking about that. Frank Lampard could become the Everton boss, and I was very interested to hear Matt Law speaking about this on the London is Blue podcast today, about how he won't work with Jody Morris anymore, which I found Oh, interesting, because they were like besties, you know, after like Derby, Jody Morris was posting photos like, I would go to war with you and die next to you and stuff like that, and he like brought them to Chelsea. They enjoyed an amazing first season at Chelsea for many reasons. And now he doesn't want to work with him. But it's interesting, I don't think there's been a massive fallout. I think Frank's just being a bit ruthless, thinking, how am I going to get better? Which is great to hear. What he does want to... Well, you can also... There's speculation that he might want to bring in a sort of senior coach to help him, which would be very smart. Young managers often do that if you can like put your ego to one side and prejudice and say, look, I want to become myself, but I'm going to bring in a guy of great, you know, experience. Pep Guardiola's done it. Pep Guardiola is arguably the best coach in the world, and he's brought in him, I've forgotten his name, the older geezer that's like his mentor, just to sit next to him, and it looks like he's going to win the league. But he has won the league. So, you know, Frank brings someone in and says, look, what would you think? A calm head next to him, that could really be good for his development. But also, again, we don't know if Frank's got the Everton job. This is all speculation. But also, you could say he wants to bring in Joe Edwards. Joe Edwards, of course, still on the Chelsea staff. He's one of Thomas Tuchel's assistants. Really highly rated by Chelsea Football Club. Super high. Of course, he did the academy, but has gone on to coach the senior team and stuff. Chelsea rate him really highly. Seemingly Frank Lampard does as well. Jody Morris was Frank Lampard's number 2, and Joe Edwards was just on his staff, but I think he really appreciates that. And there's talk, should he go to Everton, that he would love to bring Joe Edwards with him. And you imagine maybe Joe Edwards would be maybe his number 2 higher up. It might be a great experience for Joe Edwards to absorb more responsibility at Everton with Frank rather than what he's doing at Chelsea. And, you know, different experiences as well, of course. How do I feel about this? You know, it would be Frank Lampard taking a good coach away from Chelsea, but just Thomas Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel, of course, has got some of his own countrymen with him, I think. If Tuchel gives it the blessing, I think Tuchel quite likes Frank Lampard. He's spoken to him, he sent him that respectful message, he's honoured his work prior to his. He's probably seen Frank Lampard in the media praise Thomas Tuchel. I think there's quite a positive relationship there, and if they sit down, have a meeting, they're both quite charming dudes. Frank Lampard is certainly very like intelligent and charming when he sits down and talks to someone, and so is Thomas Tuchel. So I imagine they'd probably kindle quite a strong relationship, or at least, you know, amicable and respectful, and then maybe with that, you know, Thomas Tuchel says, yeah, you know, Joe can go to Everton with you. And on that as well, Frank Lampard remains having a great relationship with Marina Granovskaya and, of course, Roman Abramovich. Lampard's sacking had Roman Abramovich doing a statement, which is the first time ever in a Chelsea manager sacking. Obviously, it's a special occasion. And with that, if Frank Lampard says, you know, I'm doing this, you know, and maybe they're thinking one day he comes back to Chelsea in like 3 or 4 years, or maybe Thomas Tuchel stays at Chelsea for another 5 years, Lampard comes back. Do you know what I mean? Who knows? If he's successful, of course, elsewhere. And we give them players. We say, look, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Ross Barkley, with the Everton fans have Ross Barkley back. They boo him, I think, every time he goes out. I don't think he's got any beef with Everton, Ross Barkley. I think he was just ambitious. You know, he still hates Liverpool, so he's got that relationship with the Toffee still. But maybe Ruben Loftus-Cheek goes on loan, Frank Lampard. Do you know what I mean? These opportunity players here, good relationship with the clubs. Maybe, you know, you buy a Ross Barkley, you loan a Ross Loftus-Cheek, or vice versa, and he finds a way to make Everton stronger. But that would mean, you know, should he does that, and if he wants to keep Everton up, this would all have to happen in 3 days at time of recording, so it's a little tricky. Anyway, guys, I wanted to talk about that because it is big news. It's happening. It could be related to Chelsea. Frank Lampard, especially if he takes one of our coaches, if he takes some of our players, to which it could be good for the player, and maybe it could be good for Joe Edwards should he go. And hugely positive news with the return of Reece James, and positive news looking at our run-in, by the way. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think. I'm opening up to the floor to you guys. Comment down below, leave your thoughts, feelings, and opinions, and I'm going to start winding it down. I appreciate everyone for liking the video. See if we can crack 2K, that would be lovely. And if you're yet to subscribe, you are indeed welcome. Enjoy the football, friends. I'll see you later.
tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo, chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me, baby.